What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Genesis League goals content today. We also stream right here in this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning, so come by and say hello. All right, guys. Well, we finally got the post for the Genesis League goals, skills, slots, and charges. There's a lot of information here. I'm going to do my best not to read the entire thing to you. It's a little bit of a longer post, but there's a lot of really cool things in here. So let's just go ahead and dive in, and I'll give my thoughts as we kind of go along. So you got the skills here. Skills are the modifiers that affect gameplay. Skills are divided into active and passive. We're going to jump into those a little bit later. And as I was kind of theorizing on, they are all going to be consumables. So users can employ or attach skills to a player card by inserting them into the appropriate card slot. They'll give a boost when they're inserted. Now, here's the thing. There's going to be skill rarities, right? So skills are categorized into 4 rarities: common, rare, epic, legendary. We should be familiar with that from the Splinterland side. So each rarity level enhances the skill's ability and increases its chances of success. The specific distribution of rarity percentages is still under design. So I guess what I'm trying to understand from this, maybe somebody understands it a little bit more clearly, but I wonder if each individual skill is going to have different rarity levels under it. So for example, you go down here and you see like nutmeg. Is there going to be a common nutmeg, rare, epic, and also legendary nutmeg? That's my understanding, but somebody can correct me if I am wrong. Okay, so now charges. We talked about this a little bit in the 5 biggest takeaways, but the charges refer to the number of times a skill can be used in a game before it becomes depleted or needs to be recharged. Now, keep in mind, charges just mean that they are going to be depleted during every game usage, right? So not within the game, but every time you use it in a game, or sorry, every time you use it for a game or a match. Certain skills you'll be able to use multiple times within a match. That doesn't count as a charge. It's just if you hit, for example, on the Splinterland side, if you were to hit battle, it would use up a charge then. So it consumes 1 charge, meaning charges are consumable as well. Each skill is assigned a specific number of charges. So players will have various ways to obtain charges. One way is through rewards earned by playing the game, and then additionally you'll be able to use GLUSD or credits. Now, the important thing here in my first read-through was charges can be acquired using GLUSD, the in-game currency. It does not say if the GLUSD is going to be burned. So I would love to get some clarity on that. Obviously, we want as many burn mechanisms for GLUSD as possible, but if the charges end up being something that the team considers revenue, and so therefore they're holding on to GLUSD and then will either sell it on the market or pay it out on the back end for credits, I think that's something worth noting. Again, just for us to understand the full kind of tokenomic scale here. Now, skills during gameplay. So during gameplay, players can activate skills through a mechanism displayed in the user interface. Active skills require manual activation. That should be relatively straightforward, while passive skills will automatically activate whenever the optimal conditions are met. So when they're equipped for a player, a charge will be used, regardless of whether it is an active or passive skill. Additionally, each skill drains a certain amount of the player's stamina every time it is used in a match, and therefore could become ineffective if a player does not have enough stamina. The example that they give is a skill could potentially use 60% of a player's stamina, meaning they can only be used once before that player would need to rest, right? While a skill that's used, uses only 30% can be used more than once until the stamina is depleted. So details will be shared, details on stamina, I should say, will be shared in later posts. So the alpha skills launch, here is a list of all of them. The red ones are the active ones, and then blue will be passive. I don't know if we'll end up doing a deep dive into these at some point. I don't know if that we need to, so I'm just going to go through them relatively quickly here. You see Nutmeg, which is an active skill. Well, okay, Nutmeg is good for dribble, boosts your dribble and decreases your opponent's morale. Precision Pass means that you get a boost to your passing stats. Sniper means that you get to boost your shooting stats when shooting from further away. I don't know how to pronounce this. Criff turn is for dribble as well. Boost chance to dribble past your opponent that has a high intercept or block stat. Dummy, this is a cool one, specific to midfielders, where the midfielders lets a pass intended for them from the defense go all the way up to the forward. And then Equalizer, it's a big boost to your shooting stats, but can only be user activated when you are losing. Now we go down to the passive stats, and you have back tackle. Now what's interesting, well, let's go ahead and finish this. Passive move that gives players behind the opponent with the ball a chance to steal. You have barrier, which is a block, so it boosts your chance to block. Rapid progression, so multiplier to XP gained. Ball Hawk, boost to the success of interception, and then Second Wind, stamina decreases at a slower rate. So the interesting thing here is that, again, maybe I'm just looking at, there's only one, I guess, there's a couple of them, but the defensive stats are passive, which makes sense because really when you're playing the game, the only active thing you're doing is playing offense. Everything defensively comes down to whatever the RNG is. So just a little bit of a unique observation there. So skill slots. Each card, except coach cards, come with 3 skill slots. Players have the option to upgrade their cards by combining them, which increases the number of available skill slots. So I don't know if you start with 3, but it sounds like you may not start with 3, but you'll be able to upgrade your cards by combining them and ultimately get up to 3. So upgrading skill slots, the process of card combining not only unlocks more slots, but also allows upgrading rarity of the slots so better rarity skills can be equipped. In the game, player cards can be gradually upgraded over time. As the card level increases, the number of slots and the rarity of skills also increases. Now here's the important part. When unlocking or upgrading skill slots, a minimal amount of GLGT fee will be required. The exact amount is still to be determined. Again, here's another area where I'm assuming it's going to be a GLGT burn, but this is huge as a way to give ongoing use cases for GLGT. Now, in the live stream today, I was saying I hope we see something like that similarly in Splinterlands. I might make a video covering that if we get a little bit more information on the Soulbound reward cards. But to me, this is fantastic as an initial use case for GLGT. Well, I guess GLGT already has some use cases for buying packs, but within the game, to get this ongoing and right off the bat use case for GLGT, I think is going to be fantastic. And then lastly here, you see the future skills. New skills will be introduced into the game in the future. Conversely, at some point, skills may become non-rechargeable and the ability to recharge skills will no longer be available. There are plans to introduce new utility for skills that cannot be recharged through community proposals. Specifics of new skills, non-rechargeable skills, and timing details are still under design and will be shared in the future. So, to me, what this kind of represents is there's going to be some kind of print rate, right? Print limit that they will set. They're going to leave that TBD and we'll get more information on it in the future. But since all skills are consumables, what this kind of signals to me is, could there be a future at some point where there's just no more nutmegs left in the game because everybody's used nutmeg or sniper or dummy, right? And we end up getting new skills every so often. So therefore, like if you have a skill, it's one of those things where if you have it and there's only like a limited amount of uses left, does that increase the value of that skill even more? Because once it's done, it's really all the way done, especially if you can't find it. If you can't find it or you can't recharge it on the secondary market. Again, I don't know how that's all going to play out, but it does make for an interesting meta where at some point all of these skills that we're seeing now will just be completely phased out of the game. And then, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years down the line, maybe they come back, right? With the next batch of reward sets or the next batch of the season or something whenever they flip through new rewards. So again, it's going to keep the meta fresh in a way. And also, let's say like I get a bunch of, I don't know why I like nutmeg so much, but let's say I have a bunch of nutmeg reward cards. Let's say we get to a point where there's no more nutmegs, right? All of them have been phased out and, only a few people are holding some of them. Does that give you an advantage in game? Again, it's a limited advantage because you're only able to use it X amount of times, but then all of a sudden, do those become really valuable? And you have to weigh the option of using it in your game to be, to be better and to beat your opponents, or to sell it on the secondary market if somebody's willing to pay a premium for it. So, I'm excited about skills. Like I said, I'm excited about GLG just in general and the GLS platform, let's be honest. So this is obviously much more complicated and much more unique from Splinterlands in many ways when it comes to rewards, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. As it is, when looking at the game is relatively straightforward. So if we're just going to be looking at all the different player stats and saying like, okay, well, if this player has this stat and this player has this stat and they're trying to get by or dribble or pass, it's going to be an RNG of this percentage. Like, that's cool, but it could get tiring or, it could get stale after a while, especially if a lot of teams end up getting or having a lot of the same players on them because we just naturally drift towards the best players or the top players. But all of a sudden, you start to do, player A versus player A, whoever it ends up being, but they have different skills attached. Well, that's where the meta could get really interesting. And like I said, with them being rechargeable or consumable, that meta could change over time, because player A could have something that's like considered an alpha skill, and then we get to a point where we're not even in beta, right? Or we're in whatever comes after beta, the Chaos Legion or the Untamed of whatever this is, couple seasons down the road, and nobody has Nutmeg anymore. But you have a player A that has Nutmeg versus a player A that has whatever the new skills are. So I'm excited for this. This is I don't know when the game is going to come out, but hopefully we get it within the next couple of months here. There's going to be a lot into it, and we're going to continue to cover it here. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll catch you all in the next video and see you around the game. Take care.